А, kaks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good afternoon. We are beginning the joint press conference of the Nordic and Baltic Prime Ministers. We are delighted to welcome the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, here in Tallinn today.
Thank you.
The press conference will be held in English and Ukrainian with the simultaneous interpretation into Estonian. The press conference is being streamed on the official website of the Estonian government. We will start with opening remarks from the Prime Minister of Estonia, Kristen Michal. Prime Minister, please.
Thank you. Tere, Volodymyr, dear colleagues, here we are among friends. Volodymyr, as you already said, and you know, we are your biggest supporters. Since day one, when Russia started its unprovoked war of aggression, and we know that Russia will not win this war. In desperation, they continue to terrorize your society by targeting civilians and critical infrastructure. These attacks are cruel and unacceptable. They try to destabilize our societies too, in the hope that we give in. We will not. We will help Ukraine achieve a just and lasting peace. We will not accept the idea that borders can be changed by force. International law is not optional, and Ukraine belongs to EU and NATO. The future security of Europe will be decided by Europeans together with Ukraine, not by the Kremlin. Our support for Ukraine is not a one-way street. Ukraine is not only defending itself. Ukraine is making Europe safer. Defense industrial cooperation is a strategic priority for us. And Europe has much to learn from Ukraine and much to build together with Ukraine. We will deepen cooperation between our industries, innovators, and armed forces. We will develop joint production, speed up innovation, and remove bureaucratic obstacles. Ukraine's battlefield experience is helping Europe to become stronger, smarter, and faster. Support for Ukraine is a priority for Estonia's NB8 presidency. And the NB8 is the most important regional cooperation format for Estonia. A stronger region means greater security, resilience, and influence for all of us. We see the world through the same lens. Risks, opportunities, and necessary actions are often the same. I am very pleased that President Emmanuel Macron joined us today online. France is an important partner in shaping Europe's security and future. When Europe faces strategic choices, France helps to lead the discussion. Today, we discussed competitiveness, artificial intelligence, security, and defense. And our ambition is clear. We want the NB8 to be Europe's strongest cross-border economic and innovation area. The war in Ukraine has shown that innovation happens in weeks, not years. And we must move faster. And our region can lead the way. Our ministers responsible for the economy, finance, and digital affairs will continue this work. As our meeting is ending, but Estonia's presidency continues, important EU and NATO summits are ahead, and our common voice will matter there. And Volodymyr, one final point. Russia hopes that time is on their side. Our task is to prove that is not so. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Mr. President, please.
Thank you so much. Dear friends, dear journalists, I want to thank Estonia for hosting this summit, hosting me, and today I'm here with my wife, with the First Lady, and with all our team. As always, the NB8 format is very, very practical. Europe is strongest when Europeans act together, not separately. And this is what we are achieving in all our formats. On Sunday, we had the Ukraine E3 format. Today, it's Ukraine NB8 meeting. Thanks for this possibility again, Mr. Prime Minister. And we stay in regular contact with the United States. We are preparing together for the upcoming EU and NATO summits, as well as for the meeting around the G7 summit. All of these can bring real results. As one partner said today during our meeting, Europe cannot protect itself without Ukraine, and it means Ukraine has to be in NATO, and I thank all partners for acknowledging that. And there are three key priorities. First, to make diplomacy more active, we discussed today how to do that. Second, to provide Ukraine with air defense and strengthen our cooperation to make Europe stronger. I'm grateful to all the countries contributing to our Pearl program until Europe has enough of its own air defense and anti-ballistic production. It's very, very important to keep supporting Pearl program. And of course, we also discussed our European decisions and our joint work to increase air defense capabilities, build European anti-ballistic systems, and expand production here in Europe. And third, important EU meetings are coming soon. And I thank everyone, every partner for supporting us, supporting Ukraine. It's time to open all clusters. Everything is ready, and there is no reason to delay. And I'm also grateful to our partners for their readiness to continue strengthening sanctions against Russia. And this is important. Russia must end its war, and only pressure can help achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the next chairman of NBA, Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Støre. Please, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for hosting us, and we look forward to taking over this important cooperation. It's been well handled by Estonia. And today we have discussed first a session on modern economy, on AI, and we have agreed that our digital ministers will stay connected to see how our coordination, both of how we deal with the industry and how we deal with the applications, how we can make each other more effective. I think that also belongs in our circle. Then, of course, President Zelensky, it's great to have you here as our guest. I said at the meeting that this NBA circle, these are your closest friends. And I think we have been committed from the beginning, and we still are. You are facing a full-scale invasion. You are fighting, you are resisting for Ukraine, for the civilians of Ukraine, but also for the rest of Europe. And I think this summit has confirmed once again that we stand by you in support. I think we have the impression that you are at a better place now than we have been previously. You are pushing back on the front line, defending yourself more effectively. At the same time, Russia is struggling, but also able to hit Ukraine inside civilians in an unacceptable way. And I am convinced that what you have said several times, nobody wants peace more than Ukraine and its president. You called for an end to the war last week, and high-level talks to discuss solutions on what could be a point of departure for such talks. So again, I think that Ukraine is proving to be open to enter into such kind of dialogue, but on clear conditions. Norway supports your call for peace, and we are ready to contribute to any efforts aimed at reaching that goal. But in the meantime, we will have to be steadfast in our support. And we have agreed again, what are the key points? Air defense, defense against ballistic missiles, supporting your energy, and supporting other humanitarian needs inside the country, preparing for a winter which is not that far away. And I think I'd like to end by saying, as we approach new summits, there's G7, there's NATO, that the cooperation here with Ukraine is shifting its nature. It is now much more of a two-way street, because Ukraine has a lot to offer. This is perhaps the strongest army in Europe, and with an immense ability to innovate and to move forward. And we are happy to say that we are here in a partnership. And I think in the NB8 context, we have that same approach. So we look forward to taking on the NB8 cooperation, and that will be in a very continued cooperation with Ukraine, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor goes to the Prime Minister of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen, please.
Russia is testing us, our ability to respond and to defend ourselves. They're using false narratives and disinformation to create fear and division among us. They are threatening to use force against the Baltic countries, against NATO, claiming it might be necessary to protect Russians abroad with military means, and all straight from the Kremlin playbook. We must face this reality without any illusions as Europeans. We need to rearm, we need new capabilities, and we need to innovate now. Because innovation decides the outcome on the battlefield. We see that in Ukraine every day. Ukraine needs Europe, and as Jonas just said, and just as important, Europe now needs Ukraine. In my opinion, it is quite simple. Europe cannot rearm effectively without Ukraine. And our support to Ukraine is not charity, it is self-defense. We need to deter Russia. We need to stand up for each other as neighbors and as friends, the Nordic and the Baltic countries and Ukraine, and that is exactly what we are doing today. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor goes to the Prime Minister of Finland, Petteri Orpo, please.
Thank you so much. We had excellent discussions on a number of topics today. Thank you, Prime Minister Michal, for hosting our meeting. I'm very pleased that President Zelensky could join us, and we had a possibility for a bilateral meeting as well. Also useful that President Macron was able to join us via video link. Ukraine's survival is a key security interest for Europe. The situation on the front has turned. Ukraine, who is defending itself, is today stronger than before and is able to strike deep into Russia's important targets. Therefore, our strong support must continue. Russia has continued its illegal war of aggression and does not seem to be ready to negotiate in good faith. But sanctions are working. Negotiations on the EU's 21st sanction package are ongoing, and we are looking for a robust package. EU needs to open all the negotiation clusters before the summer break. And Finland supports President Zelensky's call for end to the war through negotiations, as outlined in his recent letter to the President of the Russian Federation. We have also discussed risks related to drones in the Baltic Sea area. We appreciate President Zelensky's readiness to investigate these incidents in order to avoid them in the future. Our responsibilities ensure safety and security of our citizens and territory. Our support to Ukraine and its rightful defense remain strong. Russia needs to stop this war that it started over 4 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor goes to the Prime Minister of Iceland, Kristrún Frostadóttir. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And I want to start by thanking Kristen for hosting us here at this NB8 Summit. And it's so important to have you here, Vladimir, as well, because so much of what we're discussing, even if you just take these mundane subjects such as AI, technology, competitiveness, it all ties to the safety and security of Europe. And a lot of the developments that we're seeing ongoing when it comes to Russia and the fight in Ukraine are also sort of filtering into our daily lives. We spent quite a bit of time discussing AI, how, like Jonas said, we can work together on applications on that, but also impacts on democracy, welfare, the positives of it, how we can use it better in government, but also the negatives, which I think what people are most afraid of is misinformation campaigns. And this is always coming full circle back to what's happening in Ukraine, what was the run-up to what happened in Ukraine, and I think makes us all wonder when we see ties to that in our own worlds, how misinformation and technology can also be a destructive tool if we don't manage it properly. So at the end of the day, all that we're discussing is values. That's why we're all here together, even though we're different countries. I mean, Iceland is a small country, it's not a big military country, but we have values when it comes to international affairs, borders, territories, and that's why we stand firmly with Ukraine. And we will continue to support you in any way we can. So thank you, Vladimir, and thank you, Kristen.
Thank you. The floor goes to the Prime Minister of Latvia, Andris Kulbergs. Please.
Aite Kristen, Aite Eesti Vabariik. Thank you for very warm welcome. And Nordic and Baltic friends, big thank you for greeting me in the club. This was a remarkable day to meet not only Prime Minister, but also Speaker of Estonia, President of Estonia. And it almost went sour, but NATO proved that it can have the capabilities of shooting down the drone, thanks to French Rafale and to NATO forces to doing so just yesterday. And we had a remarkable week. I met first the Prime Minister of Ukraine, and now almost in the same week, President of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky. These are all friends of Ukraine. And from the first minute in the meeting, we found common grounds and already had a full discussion. But it was not just a discussion. Today, we signed a historical drone agreement, which is very important and vital, because we see that, and what Mr. Zelensky today announced to us, that almost every month, up to 35,000 Russian troops are being destroyed. It is 93% of them are being destroyed by drones. So we in Latvia and in Baltics and the countries bordering the aggressor, we need to develop first anti-drone force here. And that is what we spoke about. This agreement gives us the ability for technology, for know-how, for co-production, because we would get the specialists, the military specialists on ground in Latvia in order to do so. We need to protect our skies, and nobody else knows how to better do that than Ukraine. Thank you for that. But we didn't speak just about Ukraine. We spoke about digital AI development, and we emphasized how closely that relates to energy sector. And we also spoke vividly about Shadow Fleet. There's 150 Shadow Fleet ships passing through Baltic Sea in a week, from 660 in the world. That is a direct threat and fuel of money for Russian economy and direct environmental threat as well. And we need to together control this. And we also spoke that Ukraine should be part of Europe and should be part of NATO. And we also agreed that Pearl support has to increase, and Latvia is committed to that. We are committed of 0.25% of GDP and also increase in Pearl support. And here, I wanted to emphasize that thank you to Swedish and Danish Prime Ministers for military presence in Latvia. That is even more important for us now in these changing environments nowadays. I want to emphasize the courage and bravery of Ukrainian forces and people keeping us safe in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor goes to the Prime Minister of Lithuania, Inga Ruginiene. Prime Minister, please.
Thank you. Dear Prime Ministers, colleagues, I also want to thank Kristen for such a warm hospitality and good organization of our meeting today. And the Nordic-Baltic region has always been strongest when we act together. And I think that we showed it today. Stronger cooperation among the NB8 is essential if we want to ensure Europe's resilience, competitiveness, and ability to respond effectively to today's challenges and crises. Many of the challenges cannot be addressed successfully by individual countries alone, and we know it very well. In areas such as security, economic competitiveness, critical infrastructure, and hybrid threats, coordinated regional approach makes us stronger. It enhances our resilience, allows us to use our resources more effectively, and helps communicate our common positions more clearly in Europe and beyond. Unity strengthens our voices. The NB8 countries have constantly been among Ukraine's strongest supporters. Our task is not only to maintain our own support, but also to continue making the case for Ukraine across Europe and beyond. We must keep engaging partners and explaining why continued political, military, financial, and humanitarian support for Ukraine remains essential for our common security. Recent drone incidents underline the importance of strong NATO presence and credible deterrence across the alliance's eastern flank. Ukraine has unique expertise, and we must learn from Ukraine. Under most difficult circumstances, Ukraine show the experience which we use in our country. This is exactly why just last week, during the joint meeting of the Lithuanian and Ukrainian governments in Vilnius, we signed a joint declaration on strengthening cooperation in state resilience, civil preparedness, and continuity of government during war and other severe security crises. We are committed to turning this declaration into practical cooperation and will continue to work closely with Ukraine to learn from its experience. Finally, on transatlantic relations, our message should remain clear and consistent. A strong transatlantic partnership and allied unity are vital for the security of Europe, our region, and NATO as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor goes to the Prime Minister of Sweden, Ulf Kristersson. Prime Minister, please.
Well, thanks again, dear Kristen, for hosting us here in beautiful Tallinn today. But let me start off by repeating Sweden's full support to our friends in Latvia after the recent drone incursions. It is obviously a sign of the time. And the security situation in Europe remains extremely serious, but we are stronger, we are more prepared than we have been ever before, and that is to a large extent thanks to our friends in Ukraine. In Sweden, we continue to do our part. We lead the NATO's forward land forces in Finland, with troops in the FLF here in Latvia, with our Gripen fighters for air policing in Poland, and with the warships within the Baltic Sentry. Today we also discussed, as you have heard, the AI and competitiveness, very much interlinked. We in the Nordic-Baltic region, we have what it takes to be able to lead part of the AI revolution in Europe. We have strong foundations for that, the digital maturity, world-leading research, tech savviness, access to fossil-free energy, and very robust democratic institutions. Sweden is very hard pushing for simplification on that matter, not least within GDPR. We also welcome Prime Minister Mikhail's initiative today to deepen the cooperation and further strengthen the capital markets of our countries, enhancing our overall competitiveness. And finally, we had again a very valuable conversation with President Zelensky. Our shared support to Ukraine is, as you have heard from all of us, an investment in Europe's and the region's security and our future. By increasing the pressure on Russia, we will change President Putin's calculus, which will make us all safer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now we will take your questions. Please raise your hand, state your name, country of origin, the media outlet you represent, and indicate to whom your question is directed.
Oleg Nehum from the MTV News of Finland. My question goes to President Zelensky and at least Prime Ministers Orpo and Kulbergs. Recently, there has been several incidents of drones being either shot down or crashing down on the territory of Finland or Baltic states. For example, May 15th, when apparently Ukraine by accident sent a drone towards Finland loaded with explosives. My question is, which specific actions does Ukraine take to minimize the damage and disorder these incidents might cause? And is this something we, as people of Finland and Baltics, just have to accept as a part of Ukrainian counterattacks towards Russia, or is this something that needs to be stopped? Thank you.
Mr. Zelensky, please.
Thank you very much for your question. So Russia attacks us mostly 650 drones plus from 35 to 100 missiles per day. And we respond. And of course, we don't have for today competitive number, but we use 300, 350. Yes, we will have, when we will increase fundings, we will have competitive number to respond them. And of course, Russia understands that if we will have 600 or plus drones and missiles, they will feel this war like we feel. But they will feel it at home. Using hundreds of these drones, of course, Russia destroys by air defense and etc., but also changes directions of the drones by different systems, including systems of electronic warfare. We do the same, and they do it. And they do it for them. We do it just, you know, when they attack kindergarten or something like this, school and civilian infrastructure, we do it. We are changing their direction because we're afraid of our children and etc. Yes, it's not about military goals. They attack civilian infrastructure, but what they do, they are changing the direction. They can do it, not massively, of course. So they can change the direction to divide us in Europe, to pressure on Europe, Finland, our Baltic friends, yes, and then to use it like rhetoric that Ukraine attack. And this is what they wanted from the very beginning, to divide us and to decrease the support of societies in European countries, the support of Ukraine. That's what they do. And what can we do? So I already proposed it. I proposed drone deals. Drone deals, it doesn't mean to sell the drones to one or another, our allies, or co-production, not only. The first moment is to share by fast track our experience with to share expertise with our people, with people who really know what to do, how to defend, and to send these groups to different countries who has drone deal with us. So we are ready to send to all these countries where we see even potential risks to send our expert groups to teach, to train, and to defend such cases. This really what we can do, the best way to stop Russia, to stop this war. But what we can do today, this. Thank you.
And the second question was, is this something we just need to accept as a part of Ukrainian counterattacks towards Russia?
Really, each day Russia brings new challenges on, you know, in the sky, on battlefield, in the sea. We know what they do and how they work. A lot of cyber attacks, by the way, on us and on your countries. It will be hundreds and thousands of them. There is only one way, what we need to jointly find a way how to stop them and move it to diplomatic way of negotiations. This is only one way to pressure on Putin. We need big package of sanctions from your countries, from Nordic and Baltic countries especially, sanctions and how to stop the shadow fleet of Russia. It will stop the financing their military productions and their army and etc. This is what is important for today, to my mind.
Thank you. Prime Minister of Finland, do you wish to answer?
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for Zelensky for your answer. But the truth is that Russia is attacking against Ukraine every day, every night. 5th year is going on this illegal war, and we understand that drones spilling to our airspace have been part of Ukraine's self-defense, and Ukraine has right to defend itself. So because we are unhappy about these incidents, we have very good dialogue about this with President Zelensky. Thank you for that. And we are working together, for example, with this drone deal he mentioned. And we have also taken national measures to improve the arms system and enhance preparedness.
Thank you. Prime Minister of Latvia.
That is the right question. That is exactly why we signed the agreement today with Mr. Zelensky and Ukraine. This will give us the possibility not only to have detection capabilities, but also neutralization capabilities. And it's important to note that it's not about buying the right technology, it's actually subscribing or having a constant cooperation with Ukraine forces on our ground in order to give us the latest possible best solution, because we know how much it changes in Russia as well. Russia is also adapting, but we know that Ukraine has the last best capabilities to protect the skies. So that is the reason why we need that. Yes, yesterday we shot down with the jet fighter. That is not the most efficient way to run forward. It is very good to show that we can, but we need to be more effective and more productive in that.
Thank you. Let's take the next question, please.
Yes, Regina Svedberg-Ågren from Swedish National Television. I would like to ask President Zelensky, Prime Minister Mikhail, and Prime Minister Kristersson. There's been discussions about talking to Russia again. What is your view on that? And if the talks should reopen, who should represent Europe in such talks?
Thank you. We want to go first. Prime Minister of Sweden.
With pleasure.
Well, obviously at the right time and on Ukraine's request, obviously Europe can be a good supportive force during those talks. But it's basically up to President Zelensky to tell us when the time is right. Equally, obviously, Russia is not at all prepared to have any serious negotiations right now. And I think any kind of talks with the European representation should obviously start with the acronym E3, that is France, Germany, and the UK.
Thank you. Mr. Zelensky, please.
Thank you very much. Europe has to be during any kind of negotiations. Europe can't just mediate, to my mind, because Europe stands on our side. Today I shared it with our partners. It's very, dangerous just to mediate, because, for example, if EU mediate, it means that they will think about how to put sanctions or not, because they are mediators, they have to be in the middle. That's why I share my position that there is no, let's be fair, open, and very clear to each of us, and also to Russians. They have to know there is no just mediators, because he's aggressor, Putin and Russia. That's why Europe has power to stop him. And who will represent these people, faces of Europe? I think it's very important. It can be different formats. It can be E3, it can be EU. I don't know who will be. Yes, we understand that E3 is a good variant, but I think it's up to Europe. Europe has to discuss it together. who will be, and then propose us, and we will support, because I think mostly 99.9% of Europeans are on our side. So this is important, because the question is when, as quick as possible, where doesn't matter, and this is what we need, and not to repeat mistakes, to my mind. For example, Normandy format, it was in the past. We don't need to repeat Minsk agreement and etc. That's why I think E3 is better than another format was in the past. So I think so. It's my position. And also it can't be, with all respect to the United States, they can be in any format, because we need, in future, we need security guarantees from Europe and the United States. So we will be happy to see, of course, American team, but not, not to repeat the, I think, mistake when one country or another, big or small, make some decisions with Russia and then put on the table, look, this is the idea. No, we will not accept such idea. Negotiations without us, when war on our territory, when mostly Ukrainian losses. So that's why we nothing about us without us.
Thank you. Kristen Michal, please.
Thank you. Yeah, probably Volodymyr said it best, that it's quite clear that matters of Ukraine should be decided by Ukraine. Europe can support, but not to be the mediator, because with Russia it is always so that reasonable and polite people tend to talk to Russia and think that this is something rational, but for Russians it's when you come there and you start talking, it's a weakness, sign of weakness. You need something. And usually during these talks they try to gain something they already have not gotten on the battlefield, so that's quite clear. And whatever the format, the most important in this kind of talks and the future to come is the message. The message is quite clear, and Volodymyr put it very elegantly in his letter also in public speeches, that Russia must give in to Ukraine's terms. Because right now, as we can see, Ukraine is doing better, deep strikes are working on that, and Europe's pressure is behind Ukraine against Russia, not the other way around. Let's keep it that way, because if there will be a situation, then European countries will pressure Ukraine to agree with Russia. That wouldn't be the position we would want to be in. So NB8 probably, as 99% of Europe is behind Volodymyr, and Putin will have to talk and reason with Volodymyr, nobody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take the next question, right from there.
Thank you. Karel Kressa from Delfi, Estonia. This is to leaders of Ukraine and Estonia. We often hear the theories that the Baltics might be the next target of Russian aggression, and not only from Western media, who doesn't know any better, but also recently from our friends in Ukraine. Can you clarify these comments, whether they are helpful and what they are meant to achieve? And another one, if I may, from behalf of my colleagues from Germany, Deutsche Welle, could you elaborate on the civil-military cooperation between our two countries in addition to the drone program?
Thank you. Mr. Zelensky, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. When we speak about next steps, potential steps of aggressor, we don't speak about Baltics or just Baltics. We speak about the goals of Russia. They used, for example, Belarus at the very beginning of full-scale invasion. They used Belarus, and they've been allies, pressuring not only on us. Just to remind you, when they used Belarus territory and their leader, they used them to pressure on borders of Poland. And for us, it's very important, the security in this region. The Poland is our strong neighbors, but they used it to pressure, to destroy relations, to say that it's because of support of Ukraine and etc. The same things they did with Moldova when they began to support partially temporary occupied territory of in this region of Transnistria, and so because they have there for today I don't know maybe 2,500 soldiers, Russian soldiers on the territory of occupied Moldova on Transnistria. So they don't want any kind of stabilizing in the region. They don't need it. That's why when we speak about this, we have to know that it's not just ceasefire for Ukraine. When we speak about negotiations, we have to speak about security for the region. And of course, it's understandable that if we will find a way how to stop this war as quick as possible, it's understandable that Putin will not have chances to occupy another country, because this is the result, what he had, and that's why it's so important. That's why we need to strengthen each other, to strengthen our relations, not only by drones. It's also to be strong in any kind of cyber attacks and etc. And we are ready to share it because we went through all these challenges.
Thank you. Kristen Michal, please.
There are probably a lot of answers to this question, but the first thing is that everybody is under constant attacks from Russia, almost everybody who is on Ukraine side and on rule-based world side, because, for example, since 2007, Estonia has been under constant cyber attacks. And sane person would think that during the aggression in Ukraine, they would divert their resources there. But nevertheless, the attacks against Estonia have increased, not decreased. So that means that Russian state side and also criminal players are all the time trying to get in your phone, in your laptop, in your data, corrupt that, use that, and so on. So this is happening all over. This does not count the kilometers you are, how far you are from Russian border. That is the first thing. Second thing is that Russia, until Putin changes and his missions and goals change, until that, they are acute threat to everybody in NATO and European Union. And it's acknowledged, not only to Baltics, not only to neighbors, but everybody. And that means that the only way to deal with that is to make Putin change his goals. And this is achievable by unity and strength, no other way. And investments also. So, and on the NATO's and EU side, I would say that Russia's assessment, and hopefully they won't make the mistake, but right now is quite correct that they don't have the ability to do anything against European Union and NATO, but let's keep it that way, that they don't make the mistake thinking that they can do that. And on the civil-military cooperation with Ukraine, it's quite good. We have each year dedicated 0.25% of our GDP to Ukraine. Last year it was almost 0.33% of our GDP. We have trained a little bit more than 2,000 Ukrainians, fighters, and so on. So, and it's not the question what we can do for Ukraine, but Ukraine also, as Jonas already pointed out, it's two-way street, because they have the most modern technologies to detect modern aerial threats, drones, warfare, electronic warfare. So we are learning also from them. So this is two-way street, working well. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take the next question.
My name is Alf Johnson. I'm representing VG newspaper in Oslo. Sorry for being seated, but I have too much on my laptop and I'm an old man. But I would like to follow up the Swedish radio's question regarding possible negotiations or talks with Russia. President Zelensky, you sent a letter last week to Putin, to Moscow. What kind of expectations did you have by sending the letter? And to the rest of the leaders here, were some of you consulted about this letter, and what kind of advice did you give? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Zelensky, please.
During 1 month, I sent several letters with different goals to different institutions, beginning from EU, United States, White House and Congress, and also Putin. I had different goals. For example, United States, I really wanted to do everything to shift a little bit from Middle East to Ukraine, the situation. And I needed very much. I can't share with you all the details, but believe me, my nation needed too much anti-ballistic missiles. So, and I got the result. And I will not share with you details of this result, but I did it. And I think I had, no, I think I know, I had a goal, sending a letter to Putin, for example. And I think I've got the result what I needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we take the last question? Yep.
Thank you again. Samuel Lynch, Latvian Public National Television. I'd like to ask a question to President Zelensky on the future of managing to reach peace and end the war. There appears there is no willingness on Russia's part to engage in substantial peace talks, and US involvement is also under the question because they are busy in the Middle East. So what is your plan towards, perhaps of concrete, do you have in mind concrete steps towards the ending the war in this current situation where diplomatically it seems there might be some dead ends there? Thank you so much. Дякую.
Дякую дуже. Thank you very much for your question. So we have different steps. We need sanctions and make more pressure on Putin. Sanctions, as I said, I don't want to repeat about shadow fleet and etc. But all these steps are important. Each a new package of EU, Europe, UK, Canada, Norway, different countries. I mean, all these steps of pressure are very important. The second point, to show the strong position of Ukraine. It depends. So battlefield, because of our soldiers, and we are now in a good position. Very, very difficult, but better, much more better than it was. This is the first. The strong allies, not only sanctions, it's funding. We have positive decisions about 90 billion. It means that our army and our country, our drone productions will have possibilities to increase. We have this decision. We are waiting for some real financing. It's on the way, I would say. So then the strong position is also when Ukraine shows that Ukraine is ready for peace, real meetings, not only talks, real result. And then Ukraine makes some steps, different steps, including letter, different diplomatic steps to show different allies who is ready for peace and who is not ready. That's why I said that I had a goal and I've got a result. That's what I wanted from the letter. Yeah? So that's why to be in the strong position, it's mean money, allies, army, infrastructure, and clear understanding from the United States, not only from Europe, because Europe understands and feels what does it mean, Putin and Russia. And we need have the same opinion from the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. The press conference has now concluded. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.